Alright guys, what's happening? Thanks for coming back to the REVan channel. Today we're going to show you some updates on our 1968 Mercury Cyclone that Abe and I have been building. Abe's made some huge updates under the hood with the height suspension. Before we get started with that though, I wanted to show you that the brand new issue of Drag Racing Edge magazine is out. You can go online right now, you can subscribe. We do 6 issues a year. As you can see, we've got Craig Sullivan's Mighty Mercury Pro Mod on the cover this month. A lot of cool stuff in here, so make sure you check that out. But today we're going to show you some neat stuff. We're back on the Cyclone. We're actually going to lower the motor in today for the very first test fit, so Abe can take a look at where the motor mounts need to go. We've got a bell housing coming. Tremec Transmissions is going to go and hook us up with a transmission, which we showed you in a previous episode. That'll get put on the back, and then we can kind of really fit everything in place. But today we're going to show you the suspension upgrades that we did. Abe also did some incredible framework on this thing. We had some rot, and he replaced some of the panels, and it turned out beautiful. So what do you say we get started? All right, Abe. Engine bay's looking awesome. What'd you do?
I cleaned it up a little. Obviously, you can see I painted everything, but I repaired some rust and some rot around the headlight area. The frame is in. I put the rack in and suspension just to mock it up, see how everything looks. If you look at the pictures, this whole area here was all rotted out. So I fixed the radiator support. You can see I didn't fix this part because who cares. But I replaced all the metal here and fixed the top of the frame and replaced this whole panel here. So it looks normal again. Over here, we're going to cover this up. But I want to make it removable also. This way it's easy to access and work on the engine if we have to.
And the suspension clearly fits in, and you did a fantastic job welding in the frame from heights and also kind of painting everything. We went with like a flat or a matte finish. I think that looks pretty cool.
I went with the flat black finish on the whole engine compartment and a matte black for the control arms, just to give it a little contrast. 7.3 liters of goodness. I want to see if this fits in there with the stock pan. We do have the Indy Power Products low profile pan, but just out of curiosity, I want to see where this sits with their intake, because that's going to be a little high also.
All right, guys, moment of truth. This is pretty exciting, I ain't gonna lie. Look at that 7.3 hanging.
We got a 7.3 that's kind of sitting in the Cyclone. So right now with the stock pan, the front can't go too much lower, but the back can. So I'm going to put a piece of wood under the back. This way this will support it the right way, because I only have a chain on here.
All right, Abe, so the stock pan is on there and the motor's definitely sitting a little high.
Very high.
And when the motor was slid back and tilted down in the front, it looked like it was going to cause problems, but now that we've positioned the motor a little different, it looks like we'll have a little better situation with the clearance once we put the other oil pan on. So where do we stand? Where do you think we stand?
Well, right now with the engine tilted this way, I have about 2 inches to the rack and the bottom of this pan. The Indy Power Products pan is about another 1.5 inches or so shorter.
In that area?
Correct. So this will drop even more, so it'll be about the right height. Right now it's really high because it's just supported on wood and this. So far it's looking good. We have room for a radiator, an electric fan, and this will have to go forward a little because there's no room here for the bell housing and the transmission, and right now it's a little high. But again, 3 inches or so, 2.5, 3 inches should be fine. So we'll see what happens. We got to swap out the pan and put the bell housing on and a transmission, and then we'll set it together a little better.
Yeah, it's definitely encouraging because I think we'll have plenty of room for exhaust. That's going to be easy, especially with the stock manifolds right now. Abe put a new set of pedals in the car, which we'll show you in a second. And so you can see the rod is set up there, the master cylinder. And we're going to go with a manual brake setup, so that'll be simple and easy. And then we'll come around on this side and take a look. And once again, once the engine's down, that exhaust will be sitting in a perfect position.
Yeah, this will sit down here. And again, another 3 inches. This will be right where it has to be.
Yeah, and then ultimately we'll get a set of headers on this thing. We'll probably have to custom make a set or have somebody make a set. But for the sake of getting this thing running as quickly as possible, we're going to start off with these and probably just see if we can fit up some kind of Mustang H-pipe exhaust or X-pipe.
All right, another thing we did here was make an automatic a stick. So we got a pedal assembly, well, the clutch pedal installed, and I just cut the brake off over here. So, you know, it used to be out to here. So I cut that, bolted this together, and now we're gonna have 3 pedals.
And also, did you move the pin, because we're gonna go from power brakes to manual brakes, did you move the pin on the brake pedal yet?
Yes, I installed the pin up here. So before it was an arm because the booster was closer to the shock tower. So now we're going to have the master non-power brakes. The master cylinder is going to be right on the firewall, so it's going to go right into that pin.
All right, guys, so we got the motor set in the car, somewhat in a close position to where it will be, but it's clearly way too high right now. The problem that we're facing is that the height of the stock oil pan is almost sitting on the rack. So we need to be able to put the Indy Power Products oil pan on. It'll lower the motor down. But Abe's taken a look at some of the dimensions, and overall it doesn't look too bad once we're able to sink the motor in a little bit more. Abe noted we got plenty of clearance up front for a radiator and pulley system, which also Indy Power Products will be supplying us with. We're not even going to put the manifold on right now because we know it's not even going to come close to fitting with the motor sitting where it is. So our next step, in a day or two, we're going to end up getting the bell housing, and then we can put the transmission to the motor and really get an idea. We'll change the oil pan, and we'll really be able to get an idea of what this thing's going to look like in there.
Right now it's just really the height that's the problem, and with the Indy Power Products pan, I think we'll be 100%.
Yeah, I climbed under there and just took a quick rough measurement, and from the pan rail to the bottom of the stock oil pan, in the spot where it would contact the rack, we have just over 3 inches. And in measuring that area on the Indy Power Products pan, it's like 1.75 inches. So that's going to save us just enough space to get the motor down, about 1.5 inches or so. Of course, we're going to move the motor front to back, and then that clearance, as Abe noted, that clearance changes as you tilt the motors, right? So as you tilt the motor front to back, that clearance changes. If you tilt back, you get more space in the front, and you can go a little bit lower. But you also have to maintain the proper angle at the back of the transmission so that the drive shaft is sitting correctly as far as angle to the rear. So that's something that we'll have to do, but that'll be easy with the transmission and the bell housing hooked up, because you can really kind of take a look at that and see, right, Abe?
Correct, and we'll get to that in a couple days once the parts come in, and that'll be fun to watch.
I guess that's a wrap for today. Thanks for checking out the channel. Be sure to subscribe to the REVan channel. We're trying to have some fun and do some cool content. We appreciate everybody checking it out. And by the way, leave a comment and let us know what you think about our Cyclone project.